Okay, today we're going to look at future value and try and understand why this formula works. If you get a question that talks about regular payments being put into a bank or an investment of regular payments, sometimes called an annuity, you need the future value formula. If they use the word sinking funds, or if they talk about saving for the future and with regular payments, then this is the formula you need. Your regular payment is X. Um, I is the interest rate for the period you're talking about. It could be monthly, quarterly, it's generally monthly. And N is how many payments you make. Okay, now this formula is designed to work for the payment happening at the end of the month. That's kind of important. That's really important. We're going to figure out why that's true right now. Just going back now and thinking about the whole future value formula actually comes from a geometric series. That's a geometric sequence that's added up. Well, if you start with a term, you start with any value a, that's your first term. If you multiply that value by some common ratio, you'll get your second term, a times r to the first power. And then you know the way geometric sequences work. If we multiplied by that common ratio by that number again, we'd have the third term, which would be AR squared. Well, if we keep adding them up, we can stop at a certain number of terms. The power will be n minus 1 at the very end. You can think about why that's true. Now, there's a way of coming up with a formula for adding all these things up. And what you do is you multiply everything by r times the sum of these n terms. And what happens is you'll turn that first AR into AR1. In fact, and the next one will become AR2 and so on. And the very last one will be AR to the n. Now, if we subtract this Sn minus Rsn, something special happens. Everything in cancels except the first A and the last minus AR to the n. You need to look at this really carefully. It's actually a proof you're supposed to know, but it'll help you to understand why the sum of n terms is what it is, why it equals this formula. Well, if you factor out Sn right here, you'll have 1 minus r, and then you just divide both sides by it, and you factor out the a here. So there's our formula. And if we just do a little switch around on the top and bottom, they both would become negative and negative. Anyway, we can switch both of them around. This is the formula for the sum of geometric series. There's a, the first term, times r to the n minus 1 over r minus 1. Well, boy, this looks an awful lot like future value, where x is your payment. That's kind of like your first term. 1 plus I is the thing you keep multiplying by, which is the interest rate, and that's what you do. You keep multiplying by 1 plus the interest rate for each period, and n is how many periods you have. Hey, it looks like exactly the same formula. 1 plus I, if I take away 1, I'm going to end up with just I. So, hey, this formula should look pretty similar to you. Now, we can take it a little bit further. In fact, that's what we're going to do. If we look at a person, say they made a payment of 700 Rand for 18 months at 9.5%, and say they made that first payment at the end of the first month, okay? Well, say that right on they go a whole month, they don't make any payments, but then they make a payment at the end of the first month. Well, there's 17 months to go because it's 18 months. That first 700 will get 17 months of interest. And then at the end of the next month, that 700 Rand will get 16 months, and then 15 months, and then 14, and all the way down. With a month to go, that 700 Rand will get 1 month worth of interest. And then the very last payment will happen on the 18th month, and it'll happen at the end of the month, and there won't be any interest because that's when it ends. That's the end of the 18 periods. Well, hey, take a look at this. There's your A times R, 1 R to the first power, then it'd be R to the second, third, fourth, all the way to the n minus 1. Hey, that's your formula a geometric series where A is except your X is your 700 Rand, your I is the interest rate, and N is how many payments you make. Well, getting the right answer on in the exam, if you're given this thing, is actually pretty easy. The interest is 9.5% divided by 12 because it's monthly. Your payment is 700 Rand every month, and there's 18 months of paying. Well, you just put N in for 18, you put 0.095 over 12 in for I, and you put 700 in for your payment. You just stick it into the calculator, you'll figure out exactly how much money you'll have, which will be 13,484 Rand and 76 cents. You try that on your calculator and make sure you can get it. But hey, you should be able to see now what's really going on is there's 700 Rand that's going to get no interest. There's 700 Rand that's going to get 1 month of interest. That's like multiplying by R. And then there'll be 700 Rand that gets 2 months. That's like A times R squared. It's really just a geometric series, and you should see it right here. There's your A, there's your R, and that's really R minus 1. Okay, hopefully that explained a little bit why the future value formula works. I hope so. I hope it helped. Okay, and I'm going to stop recording.